Okay, welcome back everybody, and again can I ask you to keep your table numbers up if you put them down so I can see everybody. I think the last session was a really interesting session, and I think sometimes we might feel like we're going back to the start again, but it does demonstrate this is not a simple issue that we've been tasked with, but tasked with it we have, and we will consider all views throughout the whole process. The next session is particularly revolving around the courts and aspects related to courts and criminal justice services. I will introduce the panellists individually as they come to speak. So firstly, I'm going to ask Judge Anne Ryan, who's a retired district court judge, a very valued member of our advisory steering group, who you will have seen at all the assemblies to date. And she's going to talk about her experience, court system in general, but particularly some experience in the drugs treatments court. And she will introduce some of our colleagues as well later at some stage. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Before I formally start, I'd like to pay congratulations to one of our graduates from the drug court who yesterday got her Masters in Social Policy, our first Masters pupil. And that's Paula Carney, who will speak to you in due course herself, and she'll tell you her own story, which is amazing. But good morning to you all, and it is a privilege to be asked to come and speak to you, the Assembly. I'm amazed how committed you are, and I do appreciate that. Firstly, to put myself in context, as Paul said, I'm a retired district court judge, and I was a district court judge in the Dublin Metropolitan District. I also served on the Special Criminal Court, and I was the lead judge in the Dublin Drug Treatment Court for many years. It's now led by Judge Patricia McNamara. I'm going to speak to you about therapeutic jurisprudence, TJ. What does TJ mean? Well, it is a philosophy of applying the law and legal processes in a human, emotional, and psychological manner. It is premised on the notion that socially just and compassionate response should dominate the court process in order to motivate offenders to accept rehabilitation and treatment successfully. It is a holistic approach based on encouragement, compassion in a non-adversarial manner. TJ is used in the drug treatment court, which was originally set up as an alternative to custodial sentences. It has no statutory footing. The drug treatment court is led by a dedicated judge and a team. Now, both Fiona and Maeve, who will speak to you, will give you more of an insight into the actual workings. Participants are referred to it by the criminal courts within the DMD, which are 12 courts, and they either plead guilty to the charges before the court or found guilty at trial, and then referred and deemed suitable by the probation services. It involves sanctions and rewards, while constant monitoring allows for determining what works and what doesn't for every individual. Every person is treated with dignity and respect, given a voice and an opportunity to be involved. As a judge, I must uphold the law of the land without fear or favour. But when a crime is committed, there is a victim, and the victim of that crime must also be a huge consideration for any judge. Now, we have been asked to consider what works, what doesn't work, and what we could do better. We've all listened to the very powerful presentation given by Professor Joanna Ivers when she spoke of systemic capital. She confirmed what I thought. We are only putting a sticking plaster on a broken leg. This is not acceptable. You cannot treat addiction in isolation. We must look at the real causes. Unless we build that systemic capital, not much will change. So issues of housing, education, employment, social services, mental health, and engaging with community are all so vital. Our treatment centres are not linked up. Our frontline workers are under huge pressure. Trying to do this as a health-led only issue is not the answer, unless all the other government departments and sectors give their full support. There must be a cross-sector response. All government departments, health, justice, finance, education, housing, etc., must work together with the Gardaí, with probation, with the courts to provide the capital. Time to step up and take the plaster off the broken leg and deal with the underlying issues. All government departments have a direct effect on health. Despite best efforts, some people with addiction problems will end up in court on several offences, carrying in the district court a maximum penalty of 12 months. In Dublin, the Dublin Drug Treatment Court is an alternative to custody. My colleagues around the country also run various types of therapeutic jurisprudence dealing with people who have drug offences. In Cork, my colleague Judge Olin Kelleher, he deals with cocaine users on a first-time basis before the court. Most of these people are employed, so he asks them all for 750 or 800 euro, which he collects and funds addiction counsellors under the auspices of Coolmine and the HSE. They then go for a period of 8 weeks into a programme, and if the report comes back favourable and they have done what they were supposed to do, they leave without a conviction. There are several other judges around the country who are trying to do something on their own, but this is not acceptable. This needs to be extended around the country, and many colleagues have wished that it would be an all-island approach to drug addiction. There must be an all-island approach if this is going to work, otherwise we're all working in isolation. The Drug Treatment Court was started 22 years ago as a pilot project. And that was to stop the revolving door system of prisoners who were incarcerated for less than a year. It is still a pilot project and not funded, and it's not on any statutory basis. In the Drug Treatment Court, most participants are homeless, have very little education, they're from disadvantaged backgrounds, they have huge health and mental health problems, maybe no family or supports at all. In the Drug Treatment Court, they find a safe place to go where they are treated with compassion, respect, and not judged. But it is not an easy programme. Think, for example, how hard it would be for any of us if we had to deal with our addiction issues when we have a home to go to. Can you imagine trying to become free of drugs, living in a tent or a doorway, or staying in a hostel full of criminals or drug addicts, no love or support? Every day, our education centre provides a welcome and a breakfast. It is the backbone of the Drug Treatment Court. Each individual's needs are dealt with, and transformation is incredible. They gain their self-worth, dignity, pride in themselves, and learn to regain family or children, and a real life can begin. What doesn't work? What doesn't work is the fact that so few people can avail of this, and many more could if we were resourced. There has been much criticism of the Drug Treatment Court, and rightly so. There are only small numbers who start, and smaller numbers who actually complete the programme. Why is this? Well, politicians have visited the Drug Treatment Court over the years and promised us everything. Nothing has happened. Indeed, it hasn't stopped either, because that wouldn't have been a good political move if they were to pull the drug court. That didn't happen. So my wonderful, dedicated team battle on regardless, because even one success is a life recovered. Criticism is also very important in order to improve and evaluate properly. Our graduates are the icing on the cake. They leave drug-free and with no convictions. But those who only progress part of the way also benefit hugely. Aftercare is so important and must be improved. All our stakeholders, the HSE, probation, CDTB, court service, judiciary and Gardaí, we must step up and improve and become more involved, because this should be a gold standard therapeutic system. We have no dedicated detox beds, no drug-free housing for people to feel safe in. And here I say that Father Peter McVerry has been a huge support to us down through the years, and for that I thank him profusely. There is no backup treatment for the treatment nurse if she is ill or if she is on holidays. The education facility should be enlarged and resourced, as it is the backbone of the DTC. There's no proper follow-up by the DTC of its own graduates, and also those who do not complete the full programme. Some of the people referred to as from probation really are not suitable, because their problems are so huge that our slight resources cannot really deal with the task at hand, and maybe we're setting them up to fail. So it's something that should be looked into. Judges have no training. It should be part of every judge's training. Judges and teams need to be up to date with international best practice and attend appropriate conferences to improve, and also international drug courts. In conclusion, prevention is most important, creating opportunities for people so they don't go down the criminal path. But if they do, all is not lost. We must have political will from the top, mandated by all sectors. All stakeholders involved in amazing services should not be made work in isolation, but together. The courts programme through TJ has a huge value to society, but is only part of a wider issue. Again, I say addiction cannot be treated in isolation. There is a need for a multidisciplinary and wraparound approach to tackle not only addiction, but also the reasons for the dependence and the trauma behind it. Let's take the plaster off the broken leg, and let's heal the underlying problems first. Thank you all.